Hi, welcome to my blog. Today I am going to add one video tutorial on MVC. So this is second part of MVC. In this video tutorial I am going to talk about how to create simple login form. If user provides some data like say test and the password something, if he entered wrong password, then what will be the result? Say attempt count 1, the name is good, name is right. If he provided something else and something in password also something which is not in database, then the credential does not exist. If he provided the exact password and the exact username, then the system will redirect to the master page success login. Over here this is just basic design. In this area you can define menu control where you have lots of menu of your demo software. So for this we are going to take example of bookstore system. So how to connect with the login database and all those tables, sales, purchase table, sale table, transaction table, whatever the table we have in database. First of all we create the database and then we start our work. So in this tutorial you are going to learn first we need to know workflow of our main what we want to do, what we want to achieve. So we have to understand workflow, then according to the workflow create the database and its table, then create a procedure if any, then create entity framework, then model classes, then create a controller for that and assign a controller to the view for getting information from end user, and updating layout view if any. So after that creating a controller and updating, and then if the user as everything is fine, then redirect to the main page. So our main concept of this login page is user enter some credential from the end side. They enter accept user credential from the user. Okay, then check that credential whether it is right or wrong, whether the user name and password provided password and username is right, which is matched in a database or not. Then follow our business rules, whatever the business rules we have. Suppose say we have a business rule that email in this pattern, and the user can enter only 2 times or 3 times, can try 3 times. After that we will block that user account. So whatever the business rule we have, we will follow that and set required attributes for the system. Now first of all we need to develop our database. So open Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. In there to speed thing up, I had written SQL. So I am just going to tell you what the SQL is going to do. Creating a database bookstore, okay, and setting identifier on and everything. Then creating a table user login, the field ID which is identity field and incremented by 1, username it's not null, password, attempts, last login, last date, registered date and email. This attempts is before, how many times he can attempt, and the last login, in which date he has done last log. Then I had created index page, index for the table on the field username. Okay, I am inserting one dummy data inside the table. Okay, then we are also created one procedure, the procedure name get login info, which is taking two parameters, username and password. Basically this procedure is checking whether the user is exist or not. If user exists, then return success message and make attempt to the 0. If user does not exist in database, then return credential does not exist. If user exists but the password is wrong, then increment the count of attempts by 1, and according to our business rule, after how many times we need to block that user, so set the block flag on. Okay, these things we are going to do. Let's fire the system in this SQL. After doing this, you will have, I had already done, so this system is something look like that, something look like this. Okay, so now open Microsoft Visual Studio, and in Visual Studio create a project, create file, click on a file, new, then project, and wave in this where you want to save, what will be the name. Here create new solution and framework, say click OK, and then MVC. Okay, so for speed purpose I had already created a project, our MVC demo bookstore. Okay, so first of all in this project I am going to add entity framework. Right click on this, click on add, then click on this new item, this one, new item. Okay, in a new item, go to the data tab over here, then add your data net and give the name. You can give, I am going to give book store entities. Okay, say add, from designer say next, and over here click on new connection. If you want to make new connection, click on that new connection. I have on laptop the local server is running, so press dot is for local server. You can provide in a bracket local, LOCAL, local server also. So select the database and check the connection is okay, click on OK, click on next by giving the name of entity, and select your table. And if you want to select your procedure, then select your procedure also, and finish. In which namespace you want to add this one, and then finish. For speed thing up, I had already done this. Bookstore entities DMX, we have this one, user login. Inside of this we have lot of CSS and TT file has been added. TT is nothing, it's a two type, this is also a Java script file. Double click on book entities, you can see what the code has been added inside of this. In the this user login CS file has been added. This class, the property has been added for the user login class. Now the second work you have is we have to add one models. In a model, right click on a model, this folder, add, then click on this class, give the name class. I am going to give user login. Okay, click on add. Now the user login has been added. Now use this one, using component data annotation for the setting a required field validation. So in this we have only 2 required field validation. We can have more also. You can set required field validation for email. You can set a range of date. You can set a style of date, dd mmyy or mmyy dd, whatever. All those things can be set it over here. In a great detail we will discuss these things later on also. So don't worry about this. Just add using system component model data annotation and user login class. We are setting username get set and then password properties and get set. What is it? Then in a controller we need to add one controller also. So add controller, give the name empty and click on add. Okay, type the name login controller. So login controller will be added. While login controller added, it's add this code also, get login, and we need to write the HTTP post. After posting, this will display this part will display. This part will be responsible for displaying view only, and this part will be responsible for posting post data, and this part will be for get data. So the post action, HTTP post index, action result index, we are creating a object of book store entities type and firing one. See here, I am doing this encode function. So for this, basically I had done another project, encoding and decoding. For this, right click on project, add one project, and in a class library project add this. We have nothing complicated logic over here. So just we are doing this encoding as system security cryptography sha1 dot creating that and storing into a variable, and then encoding into encoder, and whatever the value of string has been came with, that will be encoded. Okay, so referencing of that variable, how to reference this, right click on project, this project, add reference, and click on project. So click on this check mark, and then say okay. So this will be come in login controller. So we are storing the password encoded in pass, and whatever the result we are going to store in, and we are firing get login info. What is this? Basically, you can see, go to definition. Get login info is a function of that entity which takes a parameter as a username and password and fire this get login info procedure of database. This one, they are going to fire this procedure. So whatever the result of the procedure, is going to store inside of the variable return that will return whatever the result of that variable. Okay, so over here we are storing that result into a result. Now where item equal to result first or default. Okay, this result will be stored into first item will be stored into item. If the item is success, the whatever the return, whatever the that procedure has been returned, the result of the procedure, then if the procedure result is success, then we are calling new view success login view. If not success, if the item is equal to user does not exist, then we are going to store a dynamic field of view bag not valid user item. Whatever the value of item, we are going to store in dynamic field of view bag item. Else also storing inside of view bag if this attempts if the user is exist but the password is not matched. And lastly we are returning to the main index page from where they are calling. So success login page over here, this method has been declared when this return this flag when the item is success and this view has been generated. So the view has been generated through this success login and return view. Return to the home main layout form where we can define the next actions and the next form or next work whatever we are going to do. So now we had already created a view, so right click on this add view on index and this one and use layout page index and say add. After adding a view you will get this view inside of this one index.html. Inside of this, see the model class, the model object is what? User login. Okay, and the layout file is layout.html. In this the style sheet and JavaScript was bootstrap, some text, some style sheet has been setted for height and padding. Now in down the begin form we are just using whatever the model for what? User login. So the M is such that the model is such that the model dot username is for what? Edit, for edit. Okay, same things happen done with the HTML helper edit for control. This is edit for control of HTML helper. So model such that model to password. This link queue, this lambda expression, how to write the lambda expression, we will discuss this more in detail also. But the first thing is model is referring a lambda expression of this, the model such that no model of password. Our model is what model? Our model is user login. At the model, what the name of the model is? It's referring to the user login class. Okay. So all those validation fields, if the attempt is null, the attempt counts is whatever. If the not valid user is not equal to null, then displaying this and the button tag this. Okay, now everything is fine, done. Now we need to add some code in layout CHTML also. In layout CHTML we need to add if the request is authenticated. Whatever the request has been done is authenticated, then sign out log out user action link will be goes to the page. Otherwise register user or sign in login user will be goes to the page. Now run this system and see the result, the desired result has been came or not. So the login of index page, now passing the value username, password is again test, you can see, and login successful. Now if I say if I okay, let's do it again. Problem came. Let's do it again. So this time if I will pass username as test but the password something else, the password is what, the test, that the message has been came, attempt counts 1, okay, 2 3 whatever, it will increment. You can go to the database table and you can see whether it has been incremented or not. So its attempt is 2 now. See, if I will do more, then it will be 1 more, let's enter 1 more, it's 3, execute this, say 3. Now pass as a test this one, say login successfully, and this system has been set it to attempt 0. Okay, now let's say I didn't pass anything, so what will come, the credential does not exist. Okay, now this much for right now, this much for this part of MVC. Now the next part we will discuss about how to create MVC, how to save data inside of the login database. Inside of this, that means how to how to save this data, how to save data inside of user login class. Okay, thank you for listening.